Hey Collective, it's Al, and welcome back to the channel. I just wanted to jump on here real quick and speak to the Collective. As many of you know, I am in a deep study phase right now. I am studying several different topics and several different scriptures, theological studies, and so forth. And I am working on my own soul's evolution in order to be of better service to the Collective and to the divine universe, what I call the Great Architect. But I wanted to jump on here real quick because I was moved to speak to the climate environment and the temperature spikes. Because it was noted that to me that it was not even my birthday yet, and I realized that that was July 1st, and so we're not even in July yet. So this isn't even the worst of how hot it's going to be for us as a collective. And so especially in the States right now, we're going through an incredibly big heat wave, and it'll be one of many. And so I just wanted to speak to the collective real quick on the importance of such phases in our lives, specifically having to deal with what they call the era of the burning ground in esoteric theosophy, and kind of the importance to how that actually transfers throughout the collective and what the importance is, so that you kind of get a more spiritual context for why some of these things are happening. So when we think of something like the incredible heat waves, what it does is it actually removes the toxins from your body. And as many of you know, I have this big thing where I believe that we went through a big reset in 2020, and everything that's kind of happening thereafter is setting us up for the trials and tribulations portion of the new world that's unfolding. And so I just wanted to speak to what other religions and other theosophies have spoken to about what the purpose is of incredible heat waves or fire and all of the purification aspect to it. So in esoteric theosophy, when they speak to the era of the burning ground, one of the things that it immediately brought to my head was the realization that when I was in Scientology, when I was a child, when I was a teenager actually, before I left, one of the things that I learned is that they have something called a purification process, where they go and they send their pupils and they put them through into a sauna where they literally expunge all of the toxins that come out of their body. And it's a really great, rewarding physical aspect for the body because it literally does remove all of the things that are not good for your body. And so before people scoff at that, remember that a lot of you, especially those who have a little bit more money, tend to go to the gym and spend quite a bit of money in order to go into the sauna and do the same thing. So it's not a foreign thing. So in terms of a global perspective, one of the things that we've been fighting is the fact that a lot of people are naysayers to the whole global warming aspect. And though it is something that the collective as a majority does believe in, we still have the minority, the special interests who are vehement that it doesn't. This is kind of one of those things where the proof is in the pudding, and so the hotter that it gets, the more the people really start to actually go into action in order to actually accomplish something, in order to actually help the planet cool itself down as much as it possibly can, because the world does go through its own cycles. But as far as individuals, as a spiritual being, one of the things that it does is it allows your body to literally goes through the purification portion. And so when we think of a collective consciousness and where we're kind of all endeavoring at this point, you guys have to, well, you probably are connecting the dots now to realize that it would make sense that the world itself would go through the purification together as part of the process. But one of the things that happens is that when you go through it, you get headaches, and you get, if you're not drinking enough water, you start to become almost hostile to your environment because you're like almost feeling forsaken, because you're just like, you can't get away from it, you can't pull your skin off. And so, as someone who grew up in New Orleans, of all places, I know what heat is. So the thing that I wanted to get on here and say as a spiritual person, as a leader of any kind, is make sure that you're drinking a lot of water. Understand that everyone around you is going through the same thing as you are. You're not, it's not like anything more strenuous upon you. It's just something that we all have to go through in order to really cleanse ourselves of past deeds and all of the stuff, whatever you want to call it. In scientific terms, what it does is it removes all of the toxins, drug intake, alcohol intake, all of the stuff that we put into our bodies, and it basically makes our body healthier. But we have to be responsible for it. So, you know, I love to go out for walks every day. I have to kind of tone that back a little bit now because of the fact that I can't go out in the daylight, look at my sunburn and stuff like that. Though I love the color of my skin, I'm a golden boy. One of the things that I don't necessarily need is I don't need the like the headaches and the heat exhaustion. So as a collective, understand that you're not being forsaken. It is part of global warming. It's something that we need to actually deal with and have a vested interest into the topic points and really, really discuss it in panel discussions and so forth. Like, we already know what I'm working on. But to you as individuals, what I would say is take this opportunity, make this obstacle of, I'm sorry, I just got out of the shower. But take this as this obstacle, if you will, this very, very heat-induced environment as an opportunity for you to expunge the toxins from your body. Go through a fast if you want. I don't necessarily recommend ever not eating, but I'm talking about like fast of not no alcohol, no drug intake, and kind of let your body just get all of it out of you so that you're better able and more focused for what you still need to do. Because what happens with this type of purification that I've noticed firsthand is people tend to lash out. They become very hostile, and when people get really, really hot, and they don't, and they blame other people for every little thing that happens in their life. And so, what I would caution you as a collective is to remember that everyone around you is literally going through the exact same process as you are. Any type of sleep deprivation will cause an issue. Any type of issues with the air conditioning is going to be an issue. If you live in a home that the prices shoot up and all of the stuff, and then we go through the rolling blackouts, which are down the road, probably more so in July, and definitely into August. So as those happen, you're going to have to go through it. So what I would say is, because we know it's here and we know we're in the era of the burning ground, spiritually speaking, take the opportunity to detox. Stop the drug intake, stop the alcohol intake, just let it happen, go through it, because the less you resist it, the easier it becomes for your body and the more in alignment you are spiritually, right? And so then you're actually able to just like, make sure that you drink more water, and you just know every day it's going to be hot. We're going through a purification. It's part of global warming. Nobody wanted to deal with it, and now we're kind of having to deal with it as a group. So instead of being all mad and bitchy about it, why don't we just work together and remind each other that we are a human species that need to be there for each other? So more cooling towers, more focus on the elderly, making sure that they are getting outside. Set up little tent areas if you can in park areas where there's a canopy. Set chairs there and let people just go and hang out. Yes, I know that there's this whole P word going around. You have to make a choice here. Either you're going to sit there and be terrified of a virus, or you're going to go out and you're going to do what's best for your body, which is go hang out, in places that have shade. Yes, you're going to have to go outside, because if you don't have air conditioning, then you don't really have an option. But take it as an opportunity to get rid of everything that's negative in your space. It's another form of decluttering your environment, because it's taking the toxins out. Be affirmative about it and be optimistic, and so that your energy rises and you will go through this very quickly. But for the rest of you, when we get hot and we feel like we can't really get out of it, because no matter what, we have to go either to pay bills or go to work or whatnot, we tend to become grumpier. And here's the thing that happens: when two grumpy people run into each other, volatility happens. So for those of you who are spiritually minded, remember that you do not have to engage in it. You literally can just look at somebody and be like, well, I don't, like, just okay. But pay attention to the pattern, because an anger ball will always be an anger ball unless they deal with their own topic. So be aware of your surroundings and be aware of people who are trying to find a blame for their own misery or their own unhappiness, and they'll lash out because the heat makes it come up, right? That's part of the toxins. Is it brings out where we get toxins removed from the body and the skin from the alcohol or drugs or whatever it is, greasy food, whatnot. The same thing happens to your personality. Your personality becomes agitated, and so it expunges that negativity from you. So if you are a spiritual being, just understand that this may not be the best time to have road rage, because you never know what the other person is going through, and this just makes everything come up to the surface and it boils over. Hence the heat, why it's called the burning ground. So just be advised that it is entirely up to you what you're willing to put up with. I have a zero tolerance when it comes to that type of behavior. I cut people out immediately. I'm just like, you're never going to be in my space again. Just because we're all hot. It's really simple. Like in my world, it's really simplistic. We are all incredibly hot. It's uncomfortable at times, but we understand that it's part of the process. We know that global warming is a thing. Nobody wants to deal with it wholeheartedly until it gets to this stage, and it's just going to get worse every year, until we go into the small ice age, and that's not for a while. So understand that this is just part of the norm. And so until we start working as one, where science and faith and religion and all of them come together and really start to focus on the task of actually helping each other out, being there as brothers and sisters for each other, and actually starting to deal with the topics of how we can cool things down, where we can cut, like all that stuff. Until we're willing to do that, all of us are just going to have to endure it. So what I wanted to just get on here and say is, don't be victimized by what's going on, because we knew it was coming. The inconvenient truth came out a long time ago. We knew it was going to happen, and so now that it's here, just remember that we are responsible for our own entity, for our own bodies, and we are responsible to allow ourselves to grow and prosper. Sometimes the only way for other people to do it, who are maybe more asleep or maybe not as conscious of their spirituality, is that they will lash out. So you don't have to buy into that experience. Just don't deal with those people. You are not responsible for everybody else's outcome. That's one of the great things about spirituality and being on the path, or being a disciple, or being an initiate, is the fact that you are not in the end responsible for everyone else's outcome. They are responsible for their own, but it doesn't mean we can't be compassionate. So remember, like I said, if you want to focus your energy in a constructive way, why don't we focus our energy on building those canopies in parks, making sure the elderly have an option to go out? I mean, can you imagine right now what they must be going through if they're stuck in a nursing home that has no air conditioning? It's just one of those things where we have to start actually looking at things for the global perspective and actually start dealing with topics to bring us together. So, when you're walking at night, be aware that there's going to be more people out there. Instead of being all weird about it, understand that all the animals are already agitated because they're hot. They're going through a purification, and so everything that's toxic is coming up to the surface. So that includes thoughts, things that they would possibly never say or do might come up at this time. So just be aware that you don't have to engage that behavior. Just go and be on your own. Just make sure that you're aware of your surroundings. Make sure that you are taking care of yourself. Drink plenty of water. Don't get any fights that are needless. Don't listen to anybody's bullshit right now. People's opinions are going to be coming out of their assholes and their penises right now because they just have no other outlet for all of these feelings that they're going through. So understand that you are a bigger being, and take it as a great opportunity to just detox. I mean, you would pay a sort of absurd amount of money to go to a gym to do it. So what's the difference if God's handing it to you? Like, just try to look at it from that standpoint. Go out to the beach, spend a little time there, then go and sit somewhere in the shade and read a freaking book. I don't know, but be proactive and being gracious and grateful for your life, and understanding that everyone in the collective has to endure this because we didn't do anything when we had a chance, and we still have an opportunity to change this so it doesn't get hotter and hotter down the road. But for now, we are the melting pot. Hello, it's called the melting pot. So in America, we're going through a massive heat wave, and it's just going to get progressively worse. In the South, it's already been intolerable for decades now, for Louisiana in particular. Just know that this is going to be a really, really volatile season, and just know that the best thing you can do is drink plenty of water. Don't do any drugs. Don't do a lot of alcohol intake. You're going to have to deal with your shadows. You're going to have to allow things to surface, whatever it is, whether it's them coming out of your skin. You're going to get zits, all that stuff. But also remember that it's then clearing your space. It's clearing and expunging you as the personality that goes with the soul, or you as the body that goes with the soul. And the soul is then having to purify the personality in the process as well. So it's a global effort, but specifically I'm speaking to the States because that's where I live. Understand that it's for your better high. It's for your higher good. The worst thing that happens is that we, as a pool of people, literally finally go enough with the bullshit with the back and forth on the global warming. Obviously, it's getting hotter. We're gonna have to deal with it. I don't care if it's from this or that. We just need to do a solution. And the moment that happens, you will see that things will start to get better for us. But just for the time being, understand until we get to that point, take it as an opportunity to let it all go. Just let it go. And then it also will allow you, if you look at it from the right lens, to get rid of people who are toxic for your life, right? People who don't get the hint and still continually drink when you're telling them that this is not the best time to do it because it's super hot, you're going to get dehydrated, then those are people that are just literally going to keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And that can lead to more dehydration, toxic situations, violence, and so forth. So just, okay. Thank you for coming. I'm good. And then with family and stuff to start lashing out at you regarding whatever your political or vaccinational opinions are, all of that, tell them goodbye once and for all, and just say, you know what? We may have been born into the family, but I picked my parents. I didn't pick you. You picked them as well, but I don't have to deal with you. So congratulations, we're done. And just cut them off. I know that sounds very cold-blooded, but it's your soul in the end, and your happiness and your family's future is way more important than the toxicity of other people. You're not here to save anyone else. That is for the spiritual leaders to deal with, and they're not here to save anybody. They're just here to be like brothers and sisters that help other people understand a better concept of what's going on in a way that's very proactive. But that doesn't mean that we tank our lives and go down that rabbit hole. So I just wanted to get on here and say that because, like, if you're like me, I'm about to put my hair up in a ponytail. I don't care what anybody says about it. It's hot, right? So do what makes you feel most comfortable. Allow the environment, the creation of what's going on with the global warming, even though it's a situation that we've kind of put ourselves in, but it's also cyclical. So we have to agree that it's half and half. but allow the environment that the divine is handing us right now to be a vessel for an opportunity for you to get rid of the toxic behavior, to get rid of the toxic people around you, and literally simplify your life. Allow what happens to happen and use it as an opportunity to start caring again about your brothers and sisters. Go and check on the neighbor who's really, really old. Go old, who's elderly. I forgot we're all politically correct, but there's validity in that. I'm not trying to make I'm not trying to make fun of it, but seriously, like they're older. And so just go ahead and check on them. Make sure that you drink plenty of water. Like I have to cut down on the Cokes, right? Because there's a lot of sugar in it. It drives me up the wall. I detest water, like you have no idea. But I'm doing it because of the environment. So it's making me healthier. Make sure that you're also careful about dehydration because it can manifest in different ways. Right now, there's that whole thing going on around where people are all terrified of their own shadow as it is. But understand dehydration can mask itself in many different ways. So ensure that you're drinking plenty of water, getting a lot of nutrition, a lot of fruit, a lot of vegetables, things that are good for your body, and then allow yourself to also understand that you may not be able to do it may not be the best time to go out and play a sport for 4 hours in the sun, because of the fact that even though you may have sunscreen, it doesn't mean that your body is equipped with the water. So be responsible. Understand that the air of the burning ground is a purification process. It actually makes the collective deal with the shadows. When people don't want to look at the shadows, the divine has a way well, actually, we created this, but it's also cyclical. But understand that you can make this an opportunity, and when I'm being prompted to remind us all, is that you can make this into a great opportunity to get rid of the toxic environment, energies, and all of that around you, and use it to propel yourself in a very positive way forward. The healthier you are, and the more central you are, and more centered you are to your soul's purpose, and the more clear you are in it, you can see everything down the road, which is what's being offered through the purification. But it is called the burning ground for a reason. There's a lot of shit that's coming down the pike. And the best thing you can do is just focus right now on just staying cool and level headed. That's it for me, guys. I just wanted to get on here and say that. Bye.